Have you ever told a little white lie to protect yourself, only to have it spiral completely out of control? Well, today we're diving into a biblical story that's like a high-stakes drama, involving a prophet, a king, and a lie that nearly caused an international incident. This is the incredible story of the king who almost took Abraham's wife. Our story starts with Abraham, a figure central to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, known as the father of faith. God had made a huge promise to him that he would become the father of a great nation, and through him, all the families of the earth would be blessed. There was just one small problem. Abraham and his wife, Sarah, were getting old, and they still had no children. On top of that, Sarah was described as being exceptionally beautiful, which, in the ancient world, could be more of a curse than a blessing. Now, Abraham wasn't just a homebody, he was a nomad, traveling through lands ruled by powerful local kings. And here's where the trouble begins. A famine strikes the land, and Abraham decides to head down to Egypt to find food, but he's worried. He turns to Sarah and says, essentially, "Look, you're stunningly beautiful. When the Egyptians see you, they're going to want you. If they know I'm your husband, they'll just get rid of me to take you. So, let's just say you're my sister. That way, they'll treat me well for your sake, and my life will be spared." So, they arrive in Egypt, and Abraham's fear becomes a reality. The Egyptian officials see Sarah, and word of her beauty reaches the Pharaoh himself. Just as Abraham predicted, Pharaoh takes Sarah into his royal palace. And because he thinks Abraham is her brother, he showers him with gifts, sheep, cattle, donkeys, servants, the works. Abraham gets rich, but his wife is now in the harem of the most powerful man in the land. This is a catastrophic failure. The very woman who was supposed to be the mother of the promised nation is now in another man's house. The entire divine plan is hanging by a thread. You might be thinking, what was Abraham thinking? It seems like a complete lack of faith. God promised to protect him, yet here he is, resorting to deception. But just when it seems like all is lost, God steps in. The Bible says the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Sarah. Pharaoh, realizing something is terribly wrong, and that this divine punishment is connected to his new wife, summons Abraham. Imagine the scene. Pharaoh is furious. He says, "What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is your sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go." Pharaoh doesn't harm Abraham. He doesn't confiscate the gifts. He just kicks them out of Egypt, sending them away with an escort to make sure they leave. It's a narrow escape, a moment of divine rescue from a mess of Abraham's own making. You'd think after a scare like that, Abraham would have learned his lesson, right? Well, not exactly. Fast forward about 25 years, Abraham and Sarah are now much older. Abraham is around 100, and Sarah is 90. They've been promised a son, Isaac, within the year. They are traveling again, this time in a region called Gerar, which is ruled by a king named Abimelech. And believe it or not, Abraham does the exact same thing. He tells everyone that Sarah is his sister. So, King Abimelech, hearing about this beautiful sister, sends for Sarah and takes her into his household. It's like history repeating itself, but this time, the stakes are even higher. Sarah is on the verge of conceiving the promised heir, Isaac. The timing couldn't be worse. Once again, God intervenes directly, but this time in a different way. He comes to Abimelech in a dream at night. God tells him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken." She is a married woman. Abimelech is terrified, but he's also a righteous man. He protests his innocence, saying, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister,' and didn't she herself say, 'He is my brother'? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands." God responds in the dream, acknowledging Abimelech's innocence. He says, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet. He will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you and all who belong to you will surely die." God also reveals that he had closed the wombs of all the women in Abimelech's household. The next morning, a panicked Abimelech calls his officials, tells them about the dream, and they are all terrified. He then confronts Abraham with a very similar, yet more personal, tone than Pharaoh. He asks, "What have you done to us? What offense did I commit against you that you would bring such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done." Abraham's excuse is interesting. He says, "I thought to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides," he adds, "she really is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not of my mother. And she became my wife." This half-truth was his justification. He was technically correct, but the intent was to deceive. He was operating out of fear, not faith. Abimelech, despite being the wronged party, acts with incredible integrity. He not only returns Sarah to Abraham, but also gives him more wealth, sheep, cattle, servants, and 1,000 shekels of silver as a vindication for Sarah. He tells Abraham, "My land is before you. Live wherever you like." Then, as God had instructed, Abraham prays for Abimelech, and God heals the king and his household, allowing the women to have children again. So what can we take away from this wild story? First, it shows the humanity of our heroes of faith. Abraham wasn't perfect. He made the same mistake twice, driven by fear. This is a powerful reminder that our faith journeys are not straight lines of perfect obedience. We all stumble. Second, it's a stunning display of God's faithfulness. Even when Abraham messed up, God stepped in to protect his promise. He didn't abandon Abraham or his plan. He worked around and even through Abraham's failures to accomplish his purpose. The promise was bigger than Abraham's weakness. And finally, it's a story about integrity. Ironically, the pagan king, Abimelech, comes out looking more righteous than the prophet Abraham in this episode. He acts honorably as soon as he learns the truth. It's a great lesson that character and integrity matter, regardless of your background or beliefs. This fascinating tale is a reminder that God's plans are resilient and His grace is sufficient even when our faith falters. It's not about our perfection, but about His unwavering commitment to His promises. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of the Bible's most dramatic stories. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.